All right, hello class. Hope everybody's doing well. I just want to go over the exemplification strategy with you today. Now, if you recall, Essay 2, we're going to be using three strategies. They are argumentation, persuasion, and exemplification. And exemplification, kind of a daunting word there, lots of syllables, but really it just means the use of examples. And we use examples to help prove a point or concept. This strategy tends to be one of the best ways to prove a point, and it is an invaluable writing technique. Typically, the most effective communication attempts tend to use specific examples to support opinions. Specific examples, observations, details, etc., are always more successful in writing than generalizations and vague wording. Effective interviews, blogs, news reports, and even YouTube videos use multiple examples to help explain the overall idea of a work. And this is true. The more specific you are, the more effective your communication will be. The more examples you give that are rooted in specific detail, the better your essay will be overall. While exemplification can provide structure for an essay, it can also appear in an essay that does not use the exemplification strategy as its main strategy, as is the case writing. For instance, you may find multiple examples used in an argumentative essay's body paragraph to help illustrate the writer's argument. And in this case, the examples you will be using are quotes, direct quotes from scholarly sources, sources which you will be finding on Galileo and other credible sources and databases. Okay. Skills learned in exemplification writing help build a strong foundation for other types of writing, including cause and effect and argumentation. The exemplification strategy helps writers produce effective writing that is academic in tone when used successfully. An essay that uses exemplification as its main strategy should be locally organized, which can be chronologically, in order of increasing complexity, or in order of importance. Many types of common exemplification writing include personal essays, informative essays, or persuasive essays. Letters of application tend to follow this strategy as well. Using multiple examples helps explain and clarify larger ideas. A writer may use examples to add interest to the topic of the essay. To add interest, the examples may be experiences or observation. But make sure each example is relevant to the point of the essay. Now, I will say, in an argumentative essay, you should never use specific experiences. Anecdotal evidence is the worst kind of proof. But there are instances where you would use specific explanations. Like if you were telling someone a story and they weren't understanding, and we've all been there, we say, okay, for example, and then we start to give specific examples, and all of a sudden you see that little light bulb click. So it can be really helpful. Using examples to help persuade readers is a particularly effective strategy. A claim in an essay needs support, and specific details and examples demonstrate your credibility and importance of your argument. Every example you use needs to help you deliver specific information and not be a general statement. When writing, using the exemplification strategy, your topic should be specific enough to be supported by specific examples. Most writers will have a particular opinion about any claim, so these opinions shape the writer's viewpoint of the overall argument. The writer's opinions also influence the types of examples chosen for the essay. Some common methods of organizing an exemplification essay include chronological order of complexity, importance, etc. Once you know what the point you're trying to make is in an exemplification essay, compose a working thesis that states the overall main idea. The working thesis acts as your example's reason for existence, the reason they are worth sharing. If your examples are dull or expected, your reader may ask, what is the point of this? Know your reasons for choosing your examples before you start. There are different types of examples that you may want to consider in your essay. Well-chosen examples can effectively help make your point. Your examples should always be specific, meaning detailed and particular to your overall point or claim. All of your chosen examples need to be relevant, which means the examples directly connect to your topic in some way. A short example may be a word or phrase, but it has to be specific to the point that you are making. This may include terms necessary to understand a larger idea. For essays that need more than short examples, sentence-length examples include more detail. As it is with short examples, your sentence-length examples need to be specific and detailed. These examples help illustrate your ideas within the paragraph and the larger thesis idea. This cannot be a vague statement. Examples that include more details and specific information in comparison to sentence length examples are called paragraph length examples. This type of example is perfect for one paragraph assignments and larger essays. The body paragraph will usually have only one example. There is enough detail included in that example that it produces an effective paragraph. Usually, in an essay with this type of example, there will be one paragraph length example per body paragraph, and each example proves part of the thesis idea. This is true. So what I would say, paragraph length example in a 3-page essay, probably not what we want to do, but it is possible, and there are instances where people will give an entire paragraph length example to really make sure that they detail and make those necessary connections in the mind of their reader. Okay, so sometimes writers have a large detailed example that can be covered throughout an entire essay, which is called an extended example. Writers who have a lengthy example like this will usually cover part of the example in each body paragraph. This allows the writer to focus on very specific details. Usually, essays using an extended example tend to be personal or focused on a specific issue. There isn't a magic number of examples that you should include in an essay. Depending on your thesis statement, you may only need one example in each body paragraph, but if your thesis covers a larger idea, you may need multiple examples in each paragraph. You should have the same number of examples in each paragraph so that your body paragraphs are equally developed. Yeah, generally speaking, you should have the same number of examples. I would say you can use multiple quotes as examples in body paragraphs. You can use maybe like 2 per essay, but you need to make sure that the examples you use both relate to the topic sentence. And you also need to make sure that you include analysis after each example. Now, analysis comes in your own words. So you provide the example and then you explain why the example proves the claim. Don't just rely on the example to sit on its own, right? Because we require that explanation to really make it click. You should not rely on examples that demonstrate the same point over and over. You should look for a large range of examples that cover each part of your overall ideas. This is where the research comes in, and I know research can be really frustrating and it can take a long time, but this is where we get that good range of examples and lots of information that we can use. If you only rely on one specific example, your readers may think that your example only applies to a small part of your overall thoughts and ideas. If you cannot choose a range of examples to work throughout your essay, you may need to reevaluate your thesis ideas. When you have your best examples, you may be sure. Wow, there are some typos. You may make sure you use them effectively by keeping your thesis ideas in mind as you consider possible examples. Transition used in the exemplification strategy demonstrates shifts or introductions to your examples. Transitions then signal organization and help avoid confusion. Organization should be logical, based on the method of organization that is best for your particular essay, logically based. Okay, here are some common transitions that you may find helpful in exemplification writing. Like the other like the other strategies, we have a table of words that we can use in conjunction with that strategy that helps with transitions and that kind of thing. So here is the table. Also, first, include/including, 1, an illustration, first of all, last, secondly, and, for example, last of all, specifically, another, for instance, moreover, third, besides, for one thing, namely, thus, certain, furthermore, next, to illustrate, final and finally, in addition, once, and typical and typically. These are ways that you can introduce examples and sort of have that lead-in statement for the quotes you're going to be using. So, for example, comma, quote, right? That's perfect. You want to make sure that you have those lead-in statements and that you use all of these transitions, this particular table. Okay. You have to use all of them, but you have them all at your disposal, rather. Okay, so exemplification paragraph writing. Exemplification paragraph assignments allow for practice of exemplification on a smaller scale than an essay. An exemplification paragraph should always include an effective topic sentence, multiple examples as evidence, analysis, and a concluding sentence. The examples chosen for a paragraph assignment should be fairly short. An exemplification paragraph, while providing specific examples, should make sure to emphasize the point of the paragraph as a whole. The topic sentence should present a claim, right, an argumentative claim in this case, or point about a topic, or why the examples would be important to the writer. Topic sentence cannot be a quote or summary of the examples to be included in the paragraph. The paragraph should then focus on any information essential for understanding how the different examples connect to the topic sentence before moving on to the specific examples. While these examples should help prove the point you were trying to make, but depending on the length of your assignment, you may need to add or subtract details, but all the details should be relevant or necessary. It is helpful to structure your paragraph with your strongest example and then moving to the weakest example, or the reverse, weakest to strongest. Be sure to use transition words and phrases that signal that organization. For example, also, etc. And then, and this is key, you need analysis. The example that I always use, I feel like I've said the word example 500 times in the past 5 minutes, but the example that I always use is I say, imagine you walk into a classroom and there's a bloody knife on the table. Now, that's a disturbing image, but bear with me. You see the bloody knife on the table and you think, God, what happened, right? Well, maybe you could just jump to conclusions and assume someone's been stabbed and run out and miss the final. But what if that wasn't the case, right? Does a bloody knife necessarily mean someone has been stabbed? No. Now, I would say it's probably a pretty high probability, and it might be a wise thing to run anyway, but it doesn't necessarily mean that is the case. It could mean that someone was whittling and they cut themselves, or it's a prop for the drama club, or it's not really blood, it just looks like it, or something like that. There are 10,000 different possible, well, I don't know if 10,000 is a hyperbole, but there are a lot of different ways in which a bloody knife could have become bloody, and they don't all involve stabbing. So when we see the bloody knife, we can't allow for it. We can't allow other people to draw the same conclusions from the examples that we provide, that we have drawn. We must assume that everyone's brain works a little bit differently, and if I look at one piece of evidence and you look at the same piece of evidence, we may not necessarily, by virtue of just our natural inclination, draw the same conclusion about that evidence. I see a bloody knife and I think, whoa, man, did you cut yourself? What were you doing? You see a bloody knife and you think, who got stabbed? Who's right, right? We don't really know in that case. So whoever knows for sure has to then explain the example to make sure everybody doesn't get carried away. So what you do in your essay is you provide the claim in the topic sentence. Then you provide the example in the form of evidence for scholarly sources. But you don't just rely on the evidence to demonstrate the claim. You then, in your own words and in your own voice, explain why the evidence you have provided proves the claim. And that's where the analysis comes in. After your examples, the paragraph should explain how they help prove or support the topic sentence. This requires critical thinking, right? So you need to be able to make those connections on your own and explain them clearly to your reader. Then a concluding sentence, the last sentence of the exemplification paragraph should be a concluding sentence that brings the paragraph's ideas to a close. Okay, good. Exemplification essay structure. The structure of an exemplification essay should follow a basic essay structure, but depending on the types of examples, it allows for some creativity. Oh boy. If any specific example happened to you, then you should use first-person point of view. But if it did not happen to you, then third person is what you need to use. In the case of the essay 2, writing assignment number 2, you are not going to be using any specific references to yourself. We got to get rid of the use of I. We got to get rid of the use of personal anecdotes and things that we've experienced. Because remember, just because you've been through a specific experience, it doesn't mean that that's indicative of the larger truth, right? It could just mean that you're the anomaly. Something happened to you that was rare, and you can't rely on that to prove anything, right? Because proof is based on statistical analysis. So, among other things. When writing, consider your topic, your opinions, possible organization transitions, and your topic sentences and thesis, right? Here's a basic breakdown about how you might structure your exemplification essay. Introduction, hook, line, and sinker, body paragraphs, 3 of them, and a conclusion. Try not to repeat yourself, right? Those are you guys know what that is. I don't have to read that over. Regardless of the length of the assignment, the writing process is still essential, right? Make sure that you follow that structure. Make that thesis. Make those topic sentences. Before you begin writing, you need to know the purpose of your exemplification essay. You may have a prompt assigned to you, which you do, or you may be able to choose your own. You have a prompt in which you can choose your own topic, any argumentative essay topic, but you will have to do some research to support that, right? So regardless, each of your examples need to help support a larger idea or argument. There are a variety of pre-writing exercises you may want to consider for exemplification. Let's see. Yeah, you can do a pre-writing. You start with your thesis and topic sentences. You sort of structure like what you're going to do, body paragraphs, general topics for body paragraphs. Then you make a thesis and topic sentences, and then you break down the thesis. Once you break down the thesis and topic sentences, you can start to go and do some research, and you pick specific examples that you're going to use in those paragraphs, and you can maybe make a list of where the quotes are, or type the quotes out, or whatever. Then begin filling it in, of course, right? Expanding it. Go from the thesis statement. Remember to do hook, line, and sinker from the intro paragraph. Start with a strong hook. Get people invested in your argumentative essay. Give me an overview of the topic in the line section, which provides all of the contextual information needed to establish the thesis statement. And then in the sinker portion of the intro paragraph, you will provide the thesis statement. The thesis statement in this case will be an argumentative claim about a specific topic that you have chosen and that you have researched. And then you will take that thesis and you will break it down into topic sentences. And those topic sentences will be at the start of each body paragraph. Once you situate the topic sentence, you provide the evidence in the form of examples via the exemplification strategy. These examples will come from scholarly sources that are from, most of which are from Galileo. Most of them should be peer-reviewed journals, journal articles. That's the creme de la creme, as they say, of sources. And that's really what you want to be looking for. And you're going to use quotes. Now, there are 2 minimum sources, but you want to use 1 quote in each paragraph. So if you're only going to use two sources, you may want to use 1 source twice. You don't have to limit yourself to the use of 1 quote per paragraph. You can do multiple quotes per paragraph, but you want to make sure that you stay consistent across the board. And if you put 2 quotes in 1 paragraph, you might want to do it in the others too, just to remain consistent and balanced. Make sure you include analysis after each quote, even if you're going to have another quote to follow. You want to provide a little bit of analysis so that the quote doesn't just sit there on the page and let people draw incorrect conclusions from it. And then you want that transition sentence at the end, and you're going to do this 3 times minimum. I would say try to stick to a 5-paragraph essay if you can. Sometimes people are tempted to go over, and that's okay. But 5 paragraphs is ideal. Do make sure that you revise. And I've taken a look, generally speaking, after the first essay, I notice across the board, not just in any specific class, but that students tend to make a lot of editing errors, a lot of typographical mistakes that they don't have to make, and a lot of MLA stuff. So make sure you do revise and take the time to revise. If you wait until the last minute and you crunch it out and you submit it without revising, that's a lot of points that you could have had if you'd just taken a little more time and effort and tried to revise it and make sure it was where you wanted it to be. Okay. Some points there on revising and editing and proofreading, which you can read on your own. So again, let's just go over how we're going to be using examples. You're going to put forth, one more time, I know repetition is key to understanding anything. So you're going to put forth a thesis statement that's going to make an argumentative claim about a topic of your choosing. You're going to break down that thesis statement into 3 topic sentences minimum. And each of those topic sentences is going to make a smaller micro claim about that specific topic. Then you're going to use evidence as your examples for the exemplification strategy. The evidence will come from scholarly journals, which you will find on Galileo. The information from scholarly journals, which are peer-reviewed, is highly credible and is what you should be targeting for the exemplification strategy. Once you've provided these quotes and cited them appropriately, using quotation marks and parenthetical citations, you will, in your own words, explain how the quote proves the claim. Then, if you provide another quote, you will move on. Make sure that each time you provide a quote, you include a lead-in statement, such as, according to one scholar, or for example, or in one instance, or any one of those things from the table up there. And that lead-in statement prevents what I call an alien landing. Sorry, my cat is making noise. An alien landing, which is where a quote just drops out of the sky. It just falls out of the sky, and there's the quote, and I don't know where it came from or who's responsible for it. So you can look at the example essay Poultry for POTUS to see proper quote integration. The only thing I would say about the specific sources that I used in that essay is that they are like op-eds from like major news sources, and so that's not really the best kind of source you can get. What you want and what you should really be trying to get are academic credible sources from scholarly journals that you will get on Galileo. And if you watch my videos on Galileo and on credibility, I will explain just how to do that. So have a wonderful afternoon. I hope this helps with you all, and please reach out to me with any questions. If you want to know if your topic is good or whatever, you can email me as well. Have a lovely afternoon.